Well, 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 it seems it's time for the Patreon Q&A this month. Well, I mean, it's, February when I'm putting this up, but, what can I say? I'm a busy guy nowadays, especially with our increased upload rate, but, it's the thought that counts, right? Please don't unpledge. I need to buy video games for the channel. Anywho, welcome to the Patreon Q&A for January of 2018. As always, thank you guys for submitting your questions. I hope the answers meet with your approval. And I don't really have a script, so I'm just going to ramble and I'll edit it down in post. Alright, here we go. Question 1 by Robert H. How has working with co-coms affected or made it easier/harder to interact or work with others in daily life? What are some communication challenges facing the NTOM? Interesting question, Rob. Thank you for the continued support. I would say it's helped me be more open with the people I work with, because obviously working with a wide variety of people with different personalities and wants and needs and desires, you kind of have to learn to compromise, and when you don't, you get fallouts, like what happened with the FTCR crew and whatnot. So I'm still not perfect to it or about it to this day, but I feel I've become better in interpersonal relationships with the HFC crew and whatnot, and while obviously I still have my own needs when it comes to HFC work, I try to balance that with the needs of others. So I would say mainly the communication challenge is you just got to work on compromise. It can't all be about the NTOM, alas that it cannot be all about the NTOM, but yeah, I'm rambling now. I hope you managed to parse out an interesting answer to your question from that. Oh boy, we're starting strong here. Thank you, Rob, for your question. Next question is from Cruel12. What are your top 5 favourite video games ever? I'm serious because I put an A in ever. Ooh, that is a toughie, and no mistake. Gosh, I'm being put on the spot now here. I'm just going to ramble, and I'm going to throw out some names, and if I ever give a list again, that'll probably change, but what can I say? I'm a fickle sort of guy. Okay, Pokemon Silver, Star Fox 64, Resident Evil 4, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, and I would have to say Super Mario Odyssey. Yeah, they're all pretty good. You can't really go wrong with any of them. I'm very biased when it comes to Nintendo, obviously, but if we were to go beyond top 5, you'd probably see games from other systems in there. So yeah, I'll just leave it there for now. Thank you, Cruel, for your question. Next question comes to us from Dimitri Wiesenhunt. What is the strangest fanfiction that was actually a good read, in your opinion, that you have ever read, discounting 50 Shades of Grey? I think that's just fiction. It wasn't based on an existing property, unless, the concept and act of sex is copyrighted. But getting off the subject here, I can't remember the exact name of it, and I'm not going to go for My Immortal because that's too easy of a target, and it wasn't really a good read. Anyway, it was more of a funny read. Was that Garfield thing that I read once upon a time on HFC, because it was like so verbose and up its own arse that it actually swiveled around and became funny. So yeah, I'd have to go with that. I'm not sure if it's like a multi-part epic, but I definitely didn't cover all of the stuff from that author. So yeah, that's going to be my answer. Thank you, Dimitri, for your question. Ronald D. Rankin asks, what are some of your favourite Nintendo 64 memories? Oh, I'd have to say waiting to get my copy of Banjo-Kazooie, for sure, because it was delayed a fair few times, I believe, back in the day. And you gotta remember, this is like during the time period where PAL releases would come out way after their NTSC counterparts. So I remember being picked up from like Playgroup or something, or at least the 8 to 10-year-old version of that, and I got the guide for it, but I didn't have the game, so yeah, it took all my restraint not to read that guide and instead wait for the game. And obviously, the run-up to Super Smash Bros. I actually got an import cart of that, and I also had like this thing where you slot the cart into it, and then you put that cart into the N64 and it's supposed to work after putting in like an action replay code. but that didn't work, and I eventually had to wait for the Limey copy, but yeah, that's pretty fun. And obviously, you know, multiplayer memories of GoldenEye, Smash Bros. Itself, Mario Party. It was a great little system. I mean, you know, I based my username after it, of course, but I think GameCube beats it in some regards, but Nintendo 64, if you were a fan of Rare, obviously, that's a great system to grow up with. Thank you, Ronald, for your question. Next question is from Joe Shanks. When I was a wee lad, I distinctly remember entering the HFC auditions back in 2010. God, I can't believe that was 20 years ago. I was wondering what brought about that decision to host the auditions, and do you think you'll ever consider doing something similar in the future? Well, Joe, first of all, thanks for making me feel old. Secondly, I think well, I say I was the one in charge, obviously. I wanted to host the auditions to just try and get some fresh blood into the group, because I feel that was roughly about the time where FTA had started to drift away from wanting to do a lot of comm stuff, and maybe we need some, like, you know, backup commentators and whatnot. I'm trying to remember as best I can here. You know, it may turn out that FDA just told me to fuck off and I blocked that out. You know, it would be a fair assumption, given that I am a piece of crap. But as for the auditions themselves, yeah, it's just a scouting new talent sort of thing. As for whether we'll do something similar in the future, I'm pretty comfortable with the lineup we've got now, but if you guys have like any suggestions for people you feel would fit the HFC mold pretty well, and, you know, who wouldn't be annoyed by someone with a lesser sub count and, you know, view count, you know, harassing them saying, hey, do you want to make my commentary group better? Feel free to, you know, list them in the comments below. But, yeah, there you go, Joe. I hope that meets with your approval. Next question is from Nocturne. I still can't pronounce that, I'm sorry. Have you guys watched Death Battle? I'm going to assume this is that thing where it's like Charizard versus Greymon and whatnot. I can't really be asked to do like more than 5 seconds worth of research here, but I've watched that episode, if so. Haven't really watched any of the others, because, you know, I would say they're a more creative version of, say, the theory videos that I take issue with and find a bit, you know, pseudo-intellectual. I feel a bit bad for, you know, saying this sort of thing, because I did kind of get called out on that in one of the recent Pokemon parts, and it made me a bit introspective, but I don't know, it's the sort of thing you find on the playground of any given school, like, oh, who do you think would win, Superman or Batman? Incidentally, I think it would be Superman, just physically speaking, no matter the amount of prep time on Batman's part, but it's just a kind of what if thing, and you're always going to have people disagreeing and agreeing, and really, well, I wouldn't say Death Battle is easy content, especially when I'm over here just talking over video games, and Death Battle requires a lot of research and planning and much more in-depth editing than an LP ever would, but it's just, I'll say it's not my cup of tea, but the concept is appealing. You know, I can understand that much. So thank you, Nocturne, for your question. Next question is from Loki Rex, aka the dude who commissioned the Castle Crashers quick look that went up recently. So, what does the average schedule for a busy Entom look like for producing videos? An excellent question, Loki. Basically, I wake up, as one can only hope to do, every morning. I have a bit of breakfast, then I open up Sony Vegas and I leave it open for about an hour while I catch up on YouTube, uploads and whatnot, like from Two Best Friends Play, etc, etc. And I just go to town. I try to get at least a week's worth of videos done for one playthrough at a time. That used to be 3 parts of an LP, say for Sonic, and now that's 6 parts on average. So the average schedule for me would be about 3 to 5 videos per day. If I'm not feeling well, that can sometimes go down to 1 or 0. But it really depends whether it's an LP or like a bigger type of video like a movie com. If it's a movie com, I try and only do 1 of those a day, because they can be very draining to edit. Because you guys may not have even noticed it, but I cut out all the blank space in between where we're talking. It's not just I put the audio on the track, balance it, and output. You know, I have to take, you know, all the coughs and like the belches and the farting. Oh, the endless farting in between our lines of dialogue. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it can be very time consuming. Not hard, just time consuming. So yeah, I'm especially busy nowadays with our increased upload rate. So I hope you guys are enjoying all the videos and whatnot. Hopefully it's not too overwhelming and making HFC seem like a job that you have to go to and just boringly sit there and watch the videos and wait for more. And yeah, I'm rambling now, so thank you, Loki. I am indeed busy. Deimos asks, how did you and the original group of HFC members get together and decide to make the channel? Well, Deimos, the answer to that is, I decided to make the channel. I'm not entirely sure where it happened before or after. My original ntom64 account got suspended for me posting the leaked Sonic Unleashed stuff, but that was my decision. And as for how we got together, Helldragon actually watched my solo stuff on the ntom64 account and asked me for help setting up his first playthrough, which was Dragon Ball Advance Adventure, I believe. And I think I watched some of FTA's stuff first, like when he was doing audio commentaries for like Sat AM or Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog with his mate Torch, and yeah, we just went from there, really, you know, set up Kingdom Hearts, set up Sonic Adventure 1, and yeah, good times, really. I am quite nostalgic about that period of time, but gotta keep moving forward, and hopefully you guys are fans of the current HFC lineup as well, and I'm very glad FTCR is doing well nowadays too, because it's nice to not have to be angry at people, you know, just to let that go and whatnot. But I'm getting deep now, and that's not what you asked, so I'll leave it there. Thank you, as always, Deimos, for your continued support. Okie Kokie, penultimate question from Paddy Fancy. What do you think of the early direction of the new IDW Sonic comic, seemingly going back to the Resistance a la Sonic Forces, instead of starting off completely new without tying into whatever current Sonic game is out at the mo? Ooh, a bit of a divisive question, Paddy. Yeah, I wasn't a fan when I heard it was continuing from where Sonic Forces left off. I feel like, I don't know, it's sort of a step backwards, and it already kind of doesn't have its own identity. It's just adapting, you know, arcs from the games and whatnot, and while I don't really have a problem with Force's story per se, apart from how they handled Infinite, I don't think it's also the most interesting concept ever, because we've had the Freedom Fighters and the Resistance going all the way back to SAM. You know, it's not entirely fresh anymore. I am a fan of the new character they introduced. What was her name? Tangle or something? Tangle the ring-tailed lemur. She seems pretty cool. Blaze is in it. Don't know why she wasn't in Sonic Forces itself, but whatever, you know, what has been, what will be. So I will give it a chance. I'm not exactly going to buy it, I don't really buy comics, but I will read it if it comes across my screen and my eyeballs happen to scan it with their scanning nature. So yeah, I'll give it a chance, but I'm not really, even with all the talent on board like Ian Flynn and so on, that doesn't automatically get a win for me. You know, the actual finished product has to be good. It can't survive on the talent brought in from older successful stuff. So I'll give it a shot, not saying I don't like it, but I will give it a chance. Thank you, Paddy, for your question. And the last question for this month, or last month I should say, at the time of this upload, comes from Blue Marshmallow. If there was an old gaming console that you would want, what would that be? Before Sega Genesis / Master System and Nintendo, that is. Ooh, that's a toughie, Blue. If you hadn't specified before Sega Genesis, I would have actually said the Saturn, because that actually seems a bit appealing in just how crazy it is. Like one of the first disc-based systems. Not the first, I don't think, but it had a variety of games I would have liked to try out, like Burning Rangers, or was that Dreamcast? I don't know, that Astral game, or was it Astal, the little gem dude? That game always looked pretty appealing to me when I saw it in my issues of Sonic the comic, the Fleetway one. But getting back to your question, I would have actually liked to try the Magnavox Odyssey, which was the first, I believe, commercial home video game console. Failing that, something from Atari, I think, because God bless them, they made some very strange consoles, so they did, with like remote controllers, decades before the Wii Remote, you know, so yeah, I'd be a bit of a retro fag in that regard. Thank you, Blue, for your question. That brings us to the end of January's Patreon Q&A video. As always, thank you guys for your continued support. Remember, you can help fund HFC's endeavours by going to patreon.com/HellfireComms, and, you know, depending on what level you pledge at, you get different rewards. So, for example, you know, for $1 you get access to our HFC Patreon Discord account. For $5 you get videos as soon as they're done instead of when they're scheduled, so you know you can see them before anyone else. $10 allows you to ask a question every month to go into videos like this. $20 allows you to get advanced, you know, access to the Patreon multiplayer streams we do once a month. And we go from there, so check the Patreon page itself if you want to support us. It's going to be especially crucial in February, because January is traditionally not a very good month when it comes to ad revenue and whatnot. So if you want to help support HFC, besides just watching the videos, if you want to go above and beyond, please check that out. Even if it's just $1, you'll be surprised how much and how quickly that adds up into a profit for us and helps to bring new content to you guys. Anyway, I try to keep the shilling to a minimum. That's why they're in videos like this and not so much the playthroughs. Thank you guys so much for submitting your questions, and I'll see you, hopefully before March this time, for the February Patreon Q&A video. Goodbye for now.